Hey everyone. All right, so welcome to the second part of the Sneaky Ego series. All right, so in part 1 and 2, I talked about the beginning stages of spirituality and related it to the ego. So I am going to link the first video. I would suggest that you watch it if you can, before or even after this one, it doesn't matter. But in this video, I'm going to look at step 3, step 4, and step 5 if I can within less than 15 minutes. Okay, so step 3, the third stage, is when you kind of come to an absolute. Like for me, I began to give a percentage to my spirituality and my ego just because I wanted to stay on top of my ego, and I wanted to make sure that my light and my love was expanding and my ego was dying. So for me, my third stage, I gave a 70-30. So 70% spiritual, 30% ego. And when I say spiritual, I mean like 70% I come from love, 70% of the time, and that 30% I let that ego through. All right, now when you come to stage 3, the ego will once again change its tune. What I started noticing was that the ego began to beg a little bit. So in this stage, because you are in mostly like that loving stage, and now you've surrendered, you become really good at surrendering, you are aware of almost everything going on. Like you come with awareness, observation, surrender, peace, love. So you live like that 70% of the time. But that 30% when you're vulnerable, like for me, I get really vulnerable around the time of the month. And I know it's hormones too, but that's when my ego will try and take control over me the most. And what it started doing in this stage was it began like, I would be laying in bed and I would be praying, okay? I'd be praying, I'd be perfectly fine. And all of a sudden, my thought changes to, oh, please God, like begging, please God, I need to do this. Please God, get me this. Please God, I'm all alone, or I feel helpless, or I can't do this without you. I don't have anyone. Please God, help me. I have a son to raise. I hate this world. The ego will begin to put you in a begging role because you become so good at surrendering, because you have belief in God. Now the ego is trying to use God against you. So it's starting to put you in this role. It's starting to put you in this role of less power and God in this role of more power and the most power, which is not true. You are God. You have God inside of you. God and you are equal balanced energy. But the ego is trying to trick you and make you believe because it wants you to be in fear, in anxiety. So it needs you to feel powerless because you have too much power. Your light is like shining now, especially if you're meditating. You begin channeling, you begin to like your instincts start to kick in. So you even get sometimes you will even get like awareness before something happens. The universe will give you signs. So that is stage 3, where the ego starts losing its power and it begins to beg and want to put you in begging mode in order for you to feel powerless. And that is step 3, stage 3. And when you're in this mode, just a side note, all you want to do is recognize it. In all of these stages, all you want to do, you don't give the ego power. All you want to do is recognize it and be like, and then what? Okay, so you want me to feel like I'm powerless, and then what? Okay, whatever. I still surrender. I still believe in God. I still know God and I are one. Like, and then what, ego? And then what? What's going to happen? Right now, I'm perfectly fine. I'm lying in my bed, and you want me to beg. Yeah, I'm a single mom. You want me to feel alone, and then what? And then what? And in stage when I was 70. Okay, so anyway, so that's a good way to look at it and talk to your ego. Okay, whatever. All right, whatever, just whatever. Step 4. The fourth stage is when you begin to do the shadow work. Oh my goodness. So in this stage, you're still at that 70-30 split. And in this stage is when it gets really ugly. And they call this, I can't remember, but in the spiritual community, when you begin to open up that door, the shadow of the night or something like that. For me, this shadow work lasted a couple years, and now 2019, I just went through the last little bit of my shadow work, but it can last anywhere from 6 months onwards, and this shadow work, I mean, for me, it put me into this like depression, and it began to, even though I was recognizing what was in my subconscious mind, because I did do a lot of regressional work. I did some hypnotherapy. I started understanding past lives, my ancestors. Like, that was all part of my shadow work, and a lot of release, a lot of surrender, a lot of love, giving myself patience, kindness, and love through it. That's fourth stage, and it's not fun. It's not fun, but we all have to go through it. But what happens as you go through it, and the ego likes the shadow stage, because that's when you either are going to make it or you're not, and the ego knows that. So if you keep going through with it and eventually you make it, what happens is you begin to, and then we're going into stage 5, you begin to feel super balanced. Like you have no more sense of overexcited joy or super depressed shitty days. You kind of can take a crappy day and you can balance it out. You don't, like, there's not this overdoing of emotions. You become just a little bit more balanced. That's what happens when you get through your shadow work. And basically what your ego tries to do is create more anger, and it wants you to play victim again. So to recognize the ego in stage 4 is whenever you start feeling like a victim, that's your ego. That is exactly what the ego wants you to do. It wants you to not only play victim, it wants you to start begging. So it starts sneakingly playing all 3 roles: victim, begging, and if it doesn't win with the victim and begging, then it gets angry. Then it will show you anger. So those are the 3 things in stage 4 that the ego does do while you're going through your shadow work and healing. All right, and stage 5. So stage 5 for me is when you kind of come to this point where you're gonna tip. So the shadow work is done and you feel happier. Like I very rarely now, I do feel fear and anxiety, but I only, let's say, I'm starting, so 80-20 I would say is shadow work. When you come to the end of your shadow work, you're 20% ego, 80% love and light. And when you get to that end and start coming into your 90% love and light, 10% ego, what I found was, I think that's where I am now. And I began to feel like I wasn't as fearful. I was actually, more of the time, I was at peace. Yeah, I was at peace. And I just know that I'm going to be okay. I know that I'm going to be fine. And things have started coming to me, like even in my dreams. Dreams are a huge part in this stage. Like instead of where in the past, and this is why I think I'm in the 90-10 stage now. In the past, fear, I used to have so many money fears, especially when I first became an entrepreneur and I owned my gym. I had horrible people in my life. And I'll never forget, like at that stage, I used to have dreams all the time where I'd lose my wallet, and then when I'd find my wallet, somebody had stolen everything out of it. There was nothing. They took all my credit cards, they took all my money, everything in my wallet was gone. But now, just last night actually, I had this dream, and this is what encouraged this vlog today. I had this dream where I lost my wallet, and I went into like a little bit of panic mode, but then I was like, no, whatever happens, happens, it's fine. And this is happening in my dream, and I'm at a party, so there's a lot of people around, and I find my wallet. I was with a girlfriend. I find my wallet, and I open up my wallet, everything's still in there. Not only is everything still in there, but I have an extra $100 bill in my wallet. Isn't that a huge difference? Isn't that a shift? That is, I call it 90-10, because your subconscious mind now is accepting more love. All that work, that shadow work that you've done is paying off. You are becoming more positive and less ego. That is the 90-10. I also had a dream last night as well. It was a huge shift last night, actually, because I did pray a lot before I went to bed, and I opened up my pineal gland, and I asked God to give me guidance in his or her own way, that I am doing the right thing for this world, that this vlogging and this new thing that I'm doing now is the right thing. And the one thing that in my 90-10 now, what I felt has been like I'm opening myself up to new things, to new like experiences. For example, I started from the last person that I was kind of seeing, dating. He put into my mind, I remember he said to me one day, he was like, you would be great wife material. And I remember when he said this to me, I was like, I don't want to ever get married. Are you kidding me? And he was like, why wouldn't you want to get married? Like, why? You deserve somebody. And the way he talked to me was so loving and caring. I appreciated it so much. And then I started thinking of myself, yeah, you know what? I used to think I wasn't a good mom, but look at me. I was a great mom, and my purpose of being on this earth was to be a mom first and foremost. And then I started thinking, maybe like I'm chasing this entrepreneurial thing. Maybe my purpose, I always thought entrepreneurship, being a teacher, all of this was my purpose. But now I began to thinking, maybe my purpose is giving love, and maybe my purpose is also to be a wife. And in my dream, that's exactly what happened. My husband was in my dream, and every time, this is last night, and every time my husband enters my dream, my husband passed away 13 years ago, I get nervous. At the end of the dream, I just want to chase him, and I want to I know he's leaving, and I just get full-on panic attack and anxiety, and I wake up like that. It's horrible, and it's been happening to me for 13 years. Last night, though, he came into my dream, and we were talking. I missed my flight, or I might have missed. I wasn't sure if I missed a flight. And somebody said, that's okay, just call Sarb. He'll figure it out. You guys will figure it out. And in my dream, when he was there, I knew I was taken care of. I didn't have to run for him. I didn't have to chase him. I just knew he was there, and he loved me so much. And I was taken care of physically in this world, on this earth. And directly after that, I had a dream of another man, and more energy that was so loving and so kind to me and so caring. So this was my 90-10. Now I'm having, and he was my godsend, because I asked God, give me guidance, that yes, to me, that was, yes, you are meant to be a wife. You were never meant to be alone. You are meant to be with someone, and he's here. He's here. Here he is. I'm handing him to you. And I never had those types of dreams before. So that's the last little bit. That's the last stage. Stage 5 is you think you knew it all, even in your spiritual growth, and you come to realize that you knew nothing, and you only come to realize that after surrender upon surrender upon surrender. I hope the vlog helped you guys. Love you guys so much.